So let me tell you about how we did our creating the mission statement for the family. Now, I want to give it context because I want to be able to make sure that you understand. We're not sitting around a table and all the kids are perfectly, interjecting. It's we're FaceTiming because the oldest son is Ryan. He's on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in South Korea. We're out running an errand, buying some shoes for back to school shopping, and so I'm talking to Ryan. He's on, and we got him on the speaker in the car. We're driving to the place, and so um, as we start talking, of course, we can hear each other's replies, and then so I said, okay, let's talk about this, just because there's not going to be an ideal time, right? There's no sitting around the campfire, if you will, around the kitchen table. We're going to go through this just based on what's going on in our lives, and then so we just start. I shared with them where the original, on family mission statement came from, and then this idea of adding to it, and that I want it to be, me and Mel, and then the four boys, and then the daughter, like our nuclear family. This is our mission statement. And then as they go out on their own, they'll have their own um, that they might want to create with their spouse. Um, but then it's something that they can, hold out for themselves. That that's their family mission statement until they decide that they want to create their own. And so it was like, okay, what do you think? And so we kind of ran around Ryan, who's 20, Mason, who's 18, Gavin, who's 15, and then Jaden, who's 8. Mia's 4, so she she really didn't interject that with too much. But it was this idea of, okay, think about where you want us to be as a family. What can we rally around? And I am definitely one of those people that's easily motivated, motivational quotes. But I thought it could be something that we can kind of turn our eyes towards, that as we're, especially as they age, the I got some adults now, how they can still feel a part of the family, even though our relationship changes from that of parent. It starts becoming a little bit more peer to peer. I'll always be their father, will always be their mom, but will always be the parents. But their identity is no longer that of my children. Now their identity is they themselves and who they are. And so we wrote down some different ideas. And so as we're driving, I'm like, hey, Gav, you got the notes app, like pull that up. And then he interjected, and then he was writing down what people were saying, kind of putting some of these keywords in, and so we're going to utilize what we already have and then add some things to it. Now Ryan, because he's learning Korean, he's even admitted that his English isn't improving, and so we have Mason, who's really good at the written word. He's going to have a first rough draft at it, and then we'll come back as a family the next week and talk about it, and we'll probably tweak it some more. And I told him, yeah, don't the words that I used 30 years ago when I created it for the family, it was words that I liked, like sojourn, and but I'm not married to that, and nor am I married to the structure and how it is. What I want it to be, though, is I want it to be that we're all giving some input in on it. And so that's how it went. It was again, once we got to the store, we're still talking a little about it, and then there was kids off here looking at that piece of clothing, that piece of, and so it gets a little bit disjointed. It's not a perfect harmony of, okay, we're all sitting down and having this wonderful collaboration. It's a little messy, and I think sometimes that's this reality is, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet. You got to make some mess in the kitchen in order to bake a cake, and that's exactly kind of I think how this functions. I don't For me, I'm not bothered by the messiness of it, the messy middle, if you will, of creating something like this. And so though I will know that me as the parent that wants to see this kind of get created together as a family, I'm probably the one that's going to be pushing to keep bringing it up, just because as a parent, that's the one that we're the ones that see it, right? And they can look back and give some good input. One thing that was really insightful that Ryan gave, in that, so sometimes as he grew up, we did what we called family council. So we'd get together for the week and we talk about kind of what's going on, and then mom and I, or Mel and I, we would kind of unpack, if you will, or uh, let them know kind of, this is the reason why we're doing these things, let them know the purpose. And so Ryan said he wished we'd done more of those. which is funny because in the moment of doing them, a lot of times they're just, someone's laying over here, someone's on their phone, and we're telling them to get off their phone. Someone over here is playing with a Rubik's Cube, another person's, they got to go to the bathroom. And so it's so messy, right? And so you don't think anything of value is happening here just because it is so messy, but yet he found a lot of value in that and wish we'd done it more often. And so Mel and I decided, okay, that's something let's continue to implement in with the family, especially as it changes and grows. Well, now that we have a 20-year-old out in South Korea, we have an 18-year-old heading off to BYU here this fall, and then we have a high schooler, then we have 2 elementary school kids. So our dynamics is definitely shifted here at the family. Plus, on top of that, we have 4 generations in our home with Grandpa, 95 years old, living here, and then Mel's mom, Nathan, she's here. With a part of the family, and so we have a very unique household setting, and so we want to be able to make sure that as it changes and evolves, that each person still feels connected to the family, and especially as their life continues to evolve. So there is the 7 habits of highly effective people, my description of how we put together this mission statement, or putting together the mission statement. Once we have it up, I'll definitely share it with everybody, so that way you can feel free to give your input or insight, or maybe it inspired you to do something like this. And so that's one thing that I would definitely encourage people, especially anyone that's here that's a parent. It 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 sounds corny, it sounds cheesy, it sounds weird to do, but I think looking back, the kids will find great value in something that we've created together. All right, terms out.